Good afternoon. My name is Brendan Riley, Alderman of the 42nd Ward, which is actually a beautiful backdrop right behind us. I want to welcome everyone here today, and I want to acknowledge our federal and local law enforcement partners, our civic leaders, and our elected officials that are here today to show a unified front against the criminal activity that has been occurring all too frequently throughout the city, not just in downtown Chicago. So I guess without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'd like to begin by acknowledging all the leaders who are here with us today. Superintendent David Brown and First Deputy Eric Carter, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, Special Agent in Charge Emerson Bowie, a son of Chicago and more specifically Inglewood, come home. Assistant U.S. Attorney Lindsey Jenkins, who's the chief of the Criminal Division. We have a representative from the State Police, Public Safety Chairman Chris Taliaferro. You heard from Alderman Riley. We also have in attendance with us Alderman Dow and Alderman Michelle Smith. These are aldermen whose communities have been affected in the last few days. We also have with us Reverend Dr. Walter Johnson, pastor of Greater Institutional AME Church, Mag Mile Association Chair Rich Gamble, and CEO of Westside Forward Ed Coleman. As you well know, earlier this summer, our city experienced looting and destruction at a level that we haven't seen in really a half a century, going back to the late 1960s, costing our businesses millions of dollars in damage, undermining our recovery from COVID-19, and shaking the confidence of residents who are already under duress because of the virus and the related negative impact on our economy and jobs, placing incredible pressure also on the men and women of our police department, all of which flowing from this criminal activity was totally unacceptable. In the days and weeks that followed, those same residents and businesses have been working together diligently and courageously to rebuild, to reopen, and to get back on their feet. And that's exactly what they were doing. And then earlier this week, when we experienced once again criminal looting and destruction in parts of our downtown, near north and commercial corridors in neighborhoods like Bronzeville and West Garfield Park and the near north side. Once again destroying property, undermining our recovery, and undermining residents and businesses' sense of safety and certainty about their future. The businesses impacted during this week's unrest weren't just national chains and high-end retailers. They were our small, family, and locally owned businesses. And whether it's in our downtown commercial district or in one of our other 77 neighborhoods, there can never be any place in Chicago where businesses are afraid to open, where residents and visitors are afraid to travel and shop, or where employees are afraid to go to work. My primary responsibility as mayor is to keep our people safe in every neighborhood. And let me take head on this narrative that if we protect the downtown, we ignore the neighborhood. That is a completely false narrative for many reasons. First of all, we never take our eye off of any area of our city that is in trouble or in distress. And our downtown is more than just a collection of office buildings and retail stores. Streeterville, Old Town, River North, the Gold Coast, these are neighborhoods as well. Over 100,000 residents live in the downtown area. These residents, our neighbors, have every right to experience the same thing that everyone in every neighborhood in Chicago wants: peace and safety. It tears me up when I hear from residents anywhere that they are afraid to leave their homes, afraid in their homes, afraid to go to work, to go out for necessities or just to enjoy the beauty of this city. Let me say again, our residents, no matter where they live, deserve to be safe. Our businesses, no matter where they are situated, deserve to be secure for their owners, their employees, and their property. And our police officers deserve to be able to do their jobs without the threat or the reality of violence visited against them. Now, despite the many precautions that we put in place based upon lessons learned from late May and early June, what happened Sunday night and then under Monday morning should never have happened. We, our city government, with our law enforcement partners, simply must do better, and we will do better. This challenge that we face goes beyond just broken windows and stolen property. What was damaged was the faith and confidence of our residents and businesses in their city's ability to ensure basic protection. The effort to restore that confidence has already begun, and for me personally, it started with listening to the fears and concerns and frustrations of many people who have communicated with me directly, either because they reached out to me or I to them. Rebuilding that faith requires an all-hands-on-deck effort to ensure that we build better preventative measures to make sure that this kind of criminal violence and destruction doesn't happen. Or if someone is bold enough to test our resolve, that we meet that challenge with aggressive and swift action. And that we never, ever normalize this behavior or allow anyone to justify it. It should be obvious, but let me say this loud and clear. No matter what an individual's life circumstances may be, it is never justifiable to take that which is not yours. We teach that basic tenet of our democracy to our children. And any thinking, any speech, any action that suggests that somehow the taking and looting is justifiable is simply wrong, and I reject it in the strongest words possible. We stand here today with our partners in law enforcement, business, fellow elected officials, and the faith community to say in one clear voice that we are united and collaborating and pooling our resources against this effort of criminal conduct to create chaos and fear in our city. This effort extends beyond our city government and encompasses our public safety partners at all levels of government, headed by the leaders that you see here today, as well as close collaboration with our local businesses, our faith leaders, and our community stakeholders across every neighborhood in Chicago. We have gathered here to announce our comprehensive plan to protect our businesses and communities and residents. This is a plan for every part of our city, with emphasis on our commercial corridors downtown and in our neighborhoods. Building on our strengths and through extensive and collaborative work among our police department, public safety agency, community partners, this plan is built on 5 core strategies comprising 10 specific tactics, each focused around our central objective of protecting our city's commercial and neighborhood businesses from any future looting attempts while continuing to prioritize the safety of our residents and communities. These strategies are as follows. Our plan will incorporate enhanced use of technology and data analytics. We must be better at preventing these crimes from happening in the first place. And as we have seen over these past few months, social media platforms have repeatedly been used to organize large groups of people to engage in illegal activity. For that reason, effective immediately, the Chicago Police Department has created the Social Media Task Force, a specialized 20-person unit within the Crime Prevention and Information Center focused on around-the-clock review of open source social media activity. All open source, publicly available, that might indicate plans for looting. This proactive monitoring will provide the crucial information our public safety agencies need in order to be aware of planned activities as early as possible and to enable them to respond quickly and appropriately. This strategy includes the full implementation of body-worn cameras on our officers, including 500 additional body-worn cameras. This is important to ensure complete transparency in the event of a police-involved shooting or other incident, no exceptions. Part 2 of this new strategy includes rapid and agile resource redeployment. Should we learn of any planned looting, CPD officers from impacted districts will be deployed immediately, along with members of our police department's critical response team and community safety team. The superintendent has taken steps to make sure that quicker deployment of resources as needed will in fact happen. Additionally, other city resources such as streets and sanitation vehicles will continue to be mobilized to assist CPD in maintaining control over impacted areas through tactics such as traffic control and ensuring we have adequate coverage to protect our businesses. Next, an integrated and faster approach to geographic lockdowns, should they be needed, will also be a key part of this new plan. This includes CPD actively partnering with city agencies to deploy new and enhanced tactics to shut down targeted areas, including parts of the central business district, in the event of looting. These tactics include blocking and disabling vehicles, as well as creating new hardened cityscapes such as bollards and improved concrete structures to limit movement. This strategy will also include a new rapid response communication framework that will accelerate proactive contact between CPD and the business community, allowing CPD to react faster and communicate effectively to businesses impacted by emergency updates, including our stores, buildings, and local chambers of commerce. And if you have not signed up yet for the Shy Biz Alert, please go to the website at OEMC and do so. We have over 8,000 businesses that have signed up since we activated this app back in June. We need everyone in every business across the city to step up and sign up for these alerts so we can keep you in the loop when anything is happening in your area. Recognizing that community safety is a shared goal and responsibility, we will be creating stronger community partnerships. This will include CPD's community policing unit building greater partnerships and collaboration with community leaders to keep our city safe from looting and destruction and other acts of criminal activity. Specifically, CPD will be partnering with community leaders who can use their voice to speak out against looting, as well as engage in more proactive communications with communities and businesses alike to ensure that they have up-to-date information on potential threats and empower them to discourage and prevent such activity. We've got to lean into our community leaders, particularly our street outreach and intervention partners, and we will continue to rely upon them and make sure that they get the support and resources that they need. Our stronger community partnership strategy will also include enhanced coordination with our business community by integrating the city's public-private partnerships into weekly operations meetings, including weekly intelligence sharing meetings that give business associations and owners a space to provide their personal observations, improve coordination, and better prepare for potential incidents. This effort will also include the full integration of our city's business community into the Office of Emergency Management and Communications Summer Operations Center. And finally, our plan will include robust legal action. To start, the city is underway in considering new laws and regulations and enforcement that will provide CPD with greater flexibility in prosecuting cases. This strategy also includes leaning in more and strengthening our partnerships with the Illinois State Police, the Cook County Sheriff's Office, and of course, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. We also will continue and rely on our ongoing relationships with our federal partners, and notably the U.S. Attorney and the FBI. As we have been doing all summer, during an emergency, the Illinois State Police will be deployed to shut down access to targeted areas of Chicago, while Cook County Sheriffs will be immediately deployed to neighborhoods to assist in violence reduction efforts. I'm also happy to report, and the state's attorney will provide more details, that the state's attorney's office has offered their support in ensuring CPD's ability to bring appropriate charges to individuals engaged in this activity and to see that those charges are fully prosecuted. Let me pause and give my personal thanks to State's Attorney Kim Fox for her initiative, her leadership, and her support in this effort. Our robust legal action strategy also includes the creation of the Detective Task Force on Looting, formed in partnership with the FBI. And this special task force will ensure special handling of looting cases to ensure that those who engage in it are held accountable. No one should ever feel that they can break into our businesses, destroy and steal property, and get away with it. This task force has already been hard at work this week over the past by reviewing video camera footage and other evidence to identify perpetrators from this week's unrest and to develop strong cases against them in partnership with our law enforcement partners. This has already resulted in over 40 felony charges to date. We also encourage anyone to assist in this process, including identifying cars that are involved in this criminal activity by reviewing the videotape from incidents located on CPD's recently launched website. We cannot allow the short-term setback that occurred this week to distract us from our broader mission of delivering the resources and investments across our communities that are desperately needed, and much, much more that are needed in underserved neighborhoods and communities. We will not take our eye off of that ball. When we think about where we were as a city when COVID first hit us back in March, and we reflect upon the gains that we've made throughout this crisis and over this past year, they've only been possible when we've come together and been united and working together as partners to help each other out and to place our city on a stronger and more inclusive path towards our shared destiny together. I want to give special thanks to all those in our communities who have worked so hard to correct misinformation that's been floating out there in social media, but more importantly, to bridge the divides. As I stated before and will state here again, what we experienced this week is simply not who we are as a city. And we will never allow anyone to destroy the fabric of our city and our pride that we rightfully have as Chicagoans. And as your mayor, I will simply not allow that to happen. I also want those in particular who have been shaken by this week and the events of this summer to know that I hear you loud and clear. You deserve to feel safe. And I am working night and day to make that a reality for you and all residents across our city. And I have every confidence that we will get through this challenge just as we have throughout all other challenging times in our history. I want to thank all the leaders who are standing with me once again, not only for being here today, but for your partnership every day and for the work that you do in your communities to make sure that our shared mission of making Chicago the safest big city in the country becomes reality. To make sure that we are listening to and tending to the needs of our residents who need us now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you who have reached out to me and my team this week. I especially want to thank those who have come forward with offers of support and concrete solutions on how we can work towards a better Chicago. We need you. Thank you, and now I welcome Superintendent Brown to the podium. Soup.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the business community, our law enforcement partners, and other stakeholders for your ongoing collaboration. The message for this weekend is simple. Chicago does not, I repeat, does not belong to looters and thieves. Chicago belongs to the good people who work hard every day to earn an honest living. Chicago Police Department is committed to protecting our law-abiding way of life. We will not stand by as criminals destroy our downtown or our neighborhood shopping corridors. We will utilize every legal tactic necessary to protect retail throughout the city, whether that's downtown or on Madison and Pulaski on the west side. I want to be clear, crystal clear. If you are breaking windows, going in and out of stores with broken windows, or transporting merchandise from a looted store, Chicago police will arrest you. If you are participating in a car caravan that is looting, we will do everything we can to stop you, and we will arrest you. If you get away from us, we will work with our state and federal partners to find you, and we will arrest you. Chicago police cannot and will not tolerate looting in our city. Taking what does not belong to you is wrong. And wrong is wrong no matter who does it. Our strategy this weekend and beyond includes increased deployments in our retail corridors throughout the city. And I want to thank the community leaders and business owners with whom I've been in communication with throughout this week for your valuable insight and input. It's conversations like these that will help our city heal and move forward. CPD also plans to redeploy our critical incident response team and our community safety team and district personnel at a moment's notice to thwart attempts to destroy or loot property. It's important to note that this past weekend, we doubled our efforts to ensure that the majority of our citywide teams will be equipped with body cams. And I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot for her work to ensure this. Additionally, the city will deploy vehicles from Departments of Streets and Sand, Transportation and Water Management to restrict access to certain areas that are planned for potential targets for criminality. Chicago Police, as mentioned, will also monitor open source social media for any suspicious activity and proactively deploy our resources around these information. CPD has activated its central command post to monitor events citywide in real time, and we're tasked with making any deployment adjustment that may be necessary. The Cook County State's Attorney has also committed to working with our detectives to prosecute anyone caught looting or committing violent acts to the fullest extent of the law. All parts of the criminal justice system must collaborate and work together to restore a sense of security in our city. Chicago is strong and a beautiful city. Working together, we can keep it that way. We will also review videos and photos of suspected looters on our website. You can review it by going to chicagopolice.org. And anyone with additional videos or photos can contact CPD anonymously through this website. Tips have poured in from over the weekend's looting since the website was announced. We are one city, and we all have a role to play in keeping it safe. And I want to thank you. I would now like to bring up Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox. Kim.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to this collaboration across city, state, federal, public and private agencies to address the violence and the anxiety that we have felt as a result of the criminal acts that we saw this past weekend, as a continuation of those acts that we've seen all summer. I say all the time, I too, like Special Agent in Charge Bowie, I'm a child of this city. I have lived in the areas that have been impacted over this past weekend. I have a brother that lives in Inglewood. I have family members. family members who have been directly impacted by their inability to get groceries when stores have been closed down as a result of this looting. Friends and colleagues who are fearful. Staff who are watching this in horror. Let me be crystal clear, as the superintendent and the mayor has said, we do not allow for any excuse for the criminality that we saw this past weekend. And our office will continue the strong work that we've done in partnership with the Chicago Police Department, our federal partners, and others to bring those to account. As you may have heard yesterday, we released the numbers that there were 44 at this point cases that were presented by the Chicago Police Department to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for the pressing of felony charges. As a reminder for those who may not understand how it works, an arrest is made by law enforcement. Under Illinois statute, felony charges must get the approval of the State's Attorney's Office to be filed. Only when that request is made can those charges be brought. This week, 44 charges were brought to our office for felony approval. 43 of those were approved. Of those, 28 are what we would consider burglary or looting, people forcibly entering into a business for the purposes of a theft. I want to also be clear that the work that we've done this week mirrors the work that we've been doing all summer, and particularly in the aftermath of the looting and violence that we saw at the end of May and June. There were 325 cases presented to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office by the Chicago Police Department from the weeks of May 29th to June 16th. 325. Of the 325 cases that were presented to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for the purpose of felony charges, 300 of those cases were in fact approved. That is a 90% approval rate. Those 300 felony cases from May 29th through June 16th are still pending. None of those 300 cases have been dropped. None of those 300 cases have been stepped down to misdemeanors. Those cases are still pending. There are a number of those cases that have been adopted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for federal charges. Those are 22 cases. So between May 29th and June 16th, and the actions that we've seen this week, there are almost 350 felony cases that are arising out of the looting that we have seen. I want to thank the superintendent for describing what we mean when we say looting, so that there is no confusion in the law for those who are watching. When you go and destroy property, for the purpose of taking things that do not belong to you, that is a felony criminal act. And as we have done in May, in June, and this week, we will continue to do so. We will continue to work with our partners in the Chicago Police Department and our federal partners to ensure that we're bringing the strongest cases possible to hold these people accountable. At the same time, we recognize that we cannot take our eye off the ball related to gun violence that has ripped our city in numbers that we have not seen in decades. We continue to work with our partners, both local and federal, to pursue and prosecute gun cases. Just for context, since Operation Legend began, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office has charged 237 aggravated unlawful use of weapons cases. 237 cases. And we've charged 237 weapons cases this month. I apologize. From August 1st until today, there were 237 cases filed. Since the start of Operation Legend on July 22nd, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office has charged 404 gun cases. 404. Again, with our collaboration with our partners and our felony review unit, a unit of assistant state's attorneys who work 24 hours a day to ensure that we are available to our partners for the filing of charges. This year alone, from January to July 2020, there were 1,872 people arrested and charged with a felony gun charge. 1,872. I say these numbers because it's important to put into context in the fear and anxiety that we have, that the people who have been elected to serve and protect and ensure public safety, and the men and women who are assigned with that task every day are out there doing it. I hear you and your fear. I know that fear is all too real in every pocket of this city. And I too share the mayor's sentiment that we will not normalize what has happened in this city this summer. As I say every time I speak, these are extraordinary times. Times unlike anything we have seen in any of our lifetimes. The economic collapse that we have seen as a result of COVID, the death and sorrow that we've seen as a result of COVID, the what feels like unrelenting gun violence that has taken far too many of our residents, some the most vulnerable, our children. And then the unabashed destruction of property has made us all know that this isn't our city, that this feels different. And the way out of this is what we've done in the past and will continue to do, which is work collaboratively with all of our partners to bring those who commit these acts to justice and to work with our communities to make sure that our system is fair and just and equitable for everyone. I want to thank you, Mayor and Superintendent Brown, for your efforts and your leaderships on keeping our community safe and working with us in a collaborative manner to address the violence that we're seeing. At this time, I'd like to bring Emerson Bowie, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI Chicago office, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Superintendent, for giving me the opportunity to participate in this forum today and stand here before you today and reaffirm the FBI's commitment to working with the Chicago Police Department, the City of Chicago, as well as the United States Attorney's Office, State's Attorney, and the other partners we have here today in the business community as well as law enforcement. There comes a time when we all have to make a choice. We have to make a choice to do right. We have to make a choice to do wrong. Too often lately, we've seen too much wrong. There comes a time when we have to make a choice whether we're going to stand up and be counted or whether we're going to be left behind. This is a time where all of us have to stand up and be counted. That's why you see the coalition here standing behind me today, because we all have come together and we said, it's enough. It's enough. In 55 years, I've never seen it like this in Chicago. It's enough. And we have to take a stand. That stand can't be made alone by law enforcement. It can't be made alone by the business community. It can't be made alone by the politicians that we have representing us here in Chicago. It has to be all of us together, and most importantly, it has to be the community as well. We all have to take a stand. We have to bond and we have to band together. We've been getting tips, but it's not enough. You have the ability to use several tip lines, the ones the superintendent mentioned. You also have the ones that the FBI has set up, particularly for the city of Chicago. Our interest is to pursue anyone promoting and creating and conducting violence in the city of Chicago. We are pursuing any federal charges in concert with the U.S. Attorney's Office against violence being committed in Chicago. We are doing that in a number of ways. We are working with the pre-existing task forces that Chicago PD has established. We're working with the pre-existing task forces of the Illinois State Police, Cook County, and surrounding area. We're working with those task forces. Where we cannot find federal charges, we have the ability lawfully to work and assist for them to improve their charges, to bring their charges forward. This is a cooperated and a cooperative effort. You can reach the FBI tip line at https://tips.fbi.gov. You can also call the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can send a video to fbi.gov/Chicago tips. Now, personally, I don't think I'm asking for much. I'm asking for everybody to stand up and be counted. I'm asking for 30 seconds. I'm asking you for 30 seconds to pick up your phone. I'm asking you for 30 seconds to send an email. And I'm asking you for 30 seconds to send a video so that we can take our city back and make it a city that we can all be proud of. I'm 55 years old. I'm not gonna be in law enforcement forever, but when I come outside my house, I want to be able to walk down Chicago and enjoy it just like I was 12, 10, or 5. I'm asking for 30 seconds. Thank you for allowing me to participate. I'm sorry. I will be followed by Mr. Richard Gamble.
Thank you, Special Agent Bowie, and thank you to Mayor Lightfoot for inviting us to participate today. I'm Rich Gamble, the chairman of the Magnificent Mile Association. We appreciate the work that has been done and the measures announced today to address the looting and criminal activity most recently experienced in the Central Business District. It's important for all residents of the city to understand the impact that looting and shutting down this district has on them. The Magnificent Mile Business District is a leading economic driver for the city, county, and state, generating about $2 billion in property taxes alone, and even more in sales, hotel, parking, amusement, and other taxes. Those dollars help fund our schools, our first responders, and many more programs and services used by residents throughout the city, in addition to the district. Beyond that, we provide tens of thousands of jobs for Chicagoans from all 50 wards of the city, and we're home to more than 100,000 residents, as you heard the mayor say. The Magnificent Mile Association and its members pledge to partner with the city and other government officials in supporting the measures announced today. We also pledge to do our part to continue providing and expand job opportunities for people from all areas of the city. Our member businesses will be able to do this more fully once we are able to reopen in a safe and responsible manner. We look forward to welcoming residents and visitors alike to enjoy all that the Magnificent Mile has to offer. We recognize that a great city like ours needs both its downtown and its neighborhoods to be vibrant, safe, and prosperous for all Chicagoans. We must work together to ensure that Chicago leaves no community behind as we work towards a brighter future. And now I'd like to introduce Ed Coleman, CEO of Westside Forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to thank Mayor Lightfoot and the rest of the leaders standing up here with me today for the continued collaboration as we rebuild our businesses and give them the tools they need to thrive, especially in the wake of the looting and property damage they experienced this past Monday. While many of the businesses that were targeted include high-end retail stores on our city's north side, many of our small businesses, our mom and pop shops, were targeted on the west side as well. As the leader of West Side Forward, I have dedicated myself to do everything I can to breathe life into the West Side's economy by investing in people, systems, and infrastructure. This includes supporting and protecting the existing small businesses that enrich the lives of people that live there. With that being said, I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot and the entire Chicago Police Department for joining me in this mission to uplift our small business community and making sure they have the tools they need to recover and thrive. Because at the end of the day, small businesses can make up the beating heart of this great city, especially small businesses in communities like the west side of Chicago. When we fail them, we fail our entire city. And that's why I look forward to joining forces with these leaders to make sure we never fail our businesses and communities again. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce Reverend Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. And good afternoon, Mayor Lightfoot, Superintendent Brown, State's Attorney Fox, and others who are gathered here. As a lifelong resident of Chicago, and as an individual who was born and raised in Inglewood, and as a pastor who has served on the west side, on the north side in Cabrini Green, and now on the south side, I'm acutely aware of the urgency of now. I know of the decades of the social inequities and injustices that have led to the unfortunate plight faced by so many of us daily. I understand the anger, the disappointment, and the frustration experienced by countless persons in our communities. Chicago, we are better than the world witnessed a few days ago. As Chicagoans, we must do better and become better in our quest to become a safe and peaceful city. We must respect one another and each other's property. My brothers and my sisters, be better because of you. The city of Chicago can become better because of you. Our public officials can become better because of you. Our law enforcement can become better because of you. Our neighborhoods can become better because of you. Our communities can become better because of you. Our schools can become better because of you. Our businesses can become better because of you. Our churches, our mosques, our synagogues can become better because of you. Our community agencies, organizations can become better because of you. Our south side, west side, north side, east side can become better because of you. Our youth can become better because of you. Our adults can become better because of you. Our seasoned saints can become better because of you. We can become better because of you. We are better because of you. I am better because of you. It is up to me and you. Peace and blessings. Now I'd like to introduce Alderman Christopher Talaferro of the 29th Ward.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Reverend, for those passionate words and those deeply felt words. He called me Christopher, and right away I thought I was in trouble. Usually only my mom called me Christopher, and I've gotten in trouble with doing something. And then I looked to my right, and the FBI was there. I really got scared. But let me say this. I want to thank our mayor for bringing us together this afternoon. We are community stakeholders. We are stakeholders in this city, law enforcement agents, elected officials, community advocates, community groups. We stand before you, although we are 6 feet apart. We stand before you united in the same purpose of providing safety and security, not for what you see or just for what you see before you, perhaps one of the most beautiful skylines in this world. But we stand united in providing safety and security for the residents and the business owners and the homeowners on the south side of Chicago, the north side of Chicago, the west side, and the east side. We stand united in bringing safety and security to the city of Chicago. And it is undeniable that each and every one of us have a great love for this city. We will continue to invest in this city. We will continue to provide the safety and security, but we will continue to make sure that those that have chosen a path of lawlessness and looting, that you will be held accountable. Although the COVID-19 virus has slowed us down a bit, we've invested more in the neighborhoods in the city of Chicago in the last year than we've done in a long time. Through Invest Southwest and through the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and other investments, your voices have been heard. Your cry for community disinvestment has been heard, and for the opportunity to invest in your neighborhoods has been heard. So we stand committed to making sure that your communities are invested in. But I ask you, when your reason, whether it's justifiable or not, when your reason for looting is all but gone, what will you do? And I ask that you sit at the table. I ask that you have a part in the conversation. And I will do my very best to make sure that the seat is empty until you're ready to fill it. Because your voice can't be heard and is never going to be overpowered when it's accompanied by lawless actions. So I want to thank all of the leaders here today for standing united in the purpose of bringing safety and security to this city, but also your goal to make sure that our communities are not forgotten and they are invested in. Thank you, Mayor, for your continued leadership. And with that, I believe the Mayor will be taking questions at this time.
Mayor, thank you very much. Several, obviously, lots of questions with so much fear and anxiety. What took so long to come up with this plan if you already had a looting incident at the end of May? Why now do we see this? And what about the bridges and the closing off the exits? Is that the long-term strategy? Will that continue? And does that image of the bridges up not further divide the south side from the central business district?
No, I don't think it does. I think what we, and let me take your first question. It's not what took so long, right? When we see new challenges and threats to our city, we have to be nimble. We have to adjust. And what you've heard today, and what you will be seeing this week, and what you'll be seeing for the foreseeable future, is us being responsive to our businesses, to our residents, and understanding the intelligence that we have received about potential threats. So it's about making sure that we are here in the moment and bringing the resources to bear that respond to this moment. About the bridges, the bridges are important for a whole host of reasons. But what we also know is that by having them up, it gives us the opportunity to shrink the footprint and to control the flow of people who are coming in and out of the central business district. And that's important because what we've seen, again, responding to the data and the reality, is that car caravans have brought people downtown to do harm to our residents, to our businesses, to our property. So we are taking every precaution, and we will continue to do that, to be active and aggressive and preventative. But where we see people who challenge our resolve, we want to be nimble in our ability to address those issues.
Can we ask you about Macy's at Water Tower as well as Mr. Gamble? Have you spoken with Macy's? Is this plan enough for them? Because there are reports of them seriously considering leaving Water Tower Place.
So Macy's, as you know, has been struggling as a company all across the country for quite some time. My understanding is that Macy's notified the property owners at Water Tower back in February that they probably were not going to renew their lease. So the reporting that suggests that this is a reaction to what just happened is just simply false. We've known that Macy's has been struggling. We have reached out to them, my team, repeatedly over the course of the last year to offer whatever supports that we can. But the reality is, as you've seen, whether it's Macy's, whether it's Sears, whether it's Kmart, whether it's other long-standing big box retailers, the consumer preferences and buying has simply changed, and it's been a struggle for lots of different retailers to be able to adapt to this new economy. So the Macy's reporting of leaving Water Tower is something that they decided to do months before even COVID hit. But obviously, every business, and retailers are no different, have been dramatically impacted by COVID, and certainly they were hard hit by the looting that took place earlier this year.
Mr. Gamble, can you also give us some kind of reaction? If Macy's goes, how will Water Tower sustain itself? How will other stores remain? And is that true that they have said since February they're leaving?
Well, I would say the mayor's covered all the points that I would have said well, so I don't want to repeat that. I would just say that most businesses are dealing with the impact of COVID. It's not just large companies like Macy's, it's small companies that are in the process of making decisions on their long-term viability. This was being shut down for appropriate reasons to maintain our health and safety. It's the right decision, but that has had an impact, and many of the businesses are making their own individual decisions. Sure, if Macy's leaves Water Tower, that will be a significant blow. I'm sure the folks at Water Tower are looking at trying to attract as many other prospective folks to lease their spaces there. But there's not much more to say than what the mayor's already covered.
Thank you. Superintendent Brown, can we ask you about your social vision? Is this, because Monday I believe you spoke of this as well, is this new even since Monday? And could you just clarify a little more about what this social media division means?
So we've had a social media effort in looking at open source that any person can see to see if there's any intelligence that applies to either to violent crime or, as we've seen over the Sunday and Monday, looting. What we want to do is expand our capacity in this space of looking at intelligence on open source. And I really want to emphasize open source, that anyone is available to anyone to see in the public realm, not anything else beyond open source. We're just wanting to increase the capacity. We want to actually have a dedicated group. We currently have some efforts in this area, but we want to obviously make that even better than we've had, given the current circumstances that we've seen with caravanning and looting being discussed on open source social media.
Also, Superintendent, react that there have been 170 cops with COPA complaints. Any reaction to those COPA filings?
We will hold officers accountable for misconduct, but another takeaway is we deployed the entire department during that time period, over 13,000 cops. And so I just want to make sure the cops that did their jobs in the right way, in a professional way, get my gratitude and the city's gratitude. 170 is one too many, but over 13,000 cops did their jobs in a professional, right way. Thank you.
Superintendent, one last one. Would you
Sure.
consider tear gas? Should there be looting like we saw again?
We have OC spray, which is pepper spray. That's been effective, and we'll continue using that.
And you did use it over the weekend on Sunday evening?
We used some OC spray over the weekend, yes.
All right, Mayor, a couple more for you from others. I'm trying to read, and the sun is so. There are several questions that ask. Who else have, as far as aldermen? I do see a few here. A couple of other aldermen, like Hopkins, say they weren't consulted. They like to be part of the plan. And what about this weekend with the Dan Ryan protest? Have you? I see this coalition, but there are other voices that would like to be a part of it.
I mean, obviously we can't invite the entirety of the people that we've been in contact with in discussions with this week. We do try to adhere to social distancing, and we've reached out to a range of different partners across the city, of course elected officials, of course members of the faith community, business community, and just individuals who want to stand up and do supports. We can't invite the entirety of these people down here for a press conference, but I think we've got a great representative sample here. You asked me about the Dan Ryan event, and I will defer to the superintendent and representative from the state police. Look, I have great concerns about it. I always have great concerns when we talk about putting people on a busy expressway. What's the plan? How are we going to account for emergency vehicles that normally would be traveling on that? What are we doing in terms of the diversion of traffic? And to be quite candid, I'm also concerned given the fact that we have some people within the coalition of people that are proposing to go on the Dan Ryan who have justified the looting. That is the wrong narrative and the wrong optic ever, but it particularly, I think, challenging in this time. The state's attorney, the state police has taken a lead on the discussions with these folks because the expressways are the domain of the state police. Obviously, our folks, and particularly the first Deputy Carter, have been in consultation with the state police. I've had numerous conversations with the governor about this issue, but I have great concerns about allowing anyone ever to get on expressways, particularly in this time. It's a significant drain of police resources. Even though we don't have primary jurisdiction over the expressway, we have to be there. And particularly, as I understand it, they're planning to come down to Grant Park. That is our jurisdiction. So I have a lot of concerns about it. We are going to continue to be in conversation with our state partners about this issue and hopefully have a workable solution. We, of course, support peaceful protests and assembly, always. But unfortunately, as we've seen way too many times over the course of this summer, peaceful protest has been hijacked by people who have made every effort to try to provoke our police and injure our police and end up injuring innocent people who come just to be able to express themselves as is their God-given right, and particularly their right under the First Amendment of the Constitution. So these are very complicated, delicate situations, and we need to make sure that first and foremost, we are keeping our residents, our neighborhoods, and our businesses and our police officers safe.
Can I ask you from Block Club? Protesters say they've been promised police reform since Laquan McDonald was killed 6 years ago, and those changes never have come to fruition. What is your timeline for meeting the consent decree deadlines?
Yeah, so I firmly and strongly push back on the premise of the question, which is we've sat by for 6 years and done nothing. That's just fundamentally, demonstrably false and not true. First of all, as you know, I helped lead the Police Accountability Task Force. One of the first things that we did is put in place a policy for the city regarding the sharing of video, audio, and initial arrest reports. We have made significant progress on making sure that both the recommendations of the task force and DOJ that came a year later, that we put them into place. Yes, there are some things regarding the consent decree that we haven't met, but we've made tremendous progress. We've redone our use of force order. We've upped our training, not only in the substance of the training, but the amount of hours of training that our police officers have to do every year. We have reformed a vital and important collective bargaining agreement with our supervisors just 3 weeks ago. We have stopped the destruction of disciplinary records. We have allowed for anonymous complaints. The list goes on, and it is readily available. So it is wrong. It is wrong and is irresponsible to say that we've done nothing. Do we need to do more? Of course we do. Are we all committed to making sure that happens? Yes, we are. We need to make sure we do that. We need to make sure we fully fund it, and we need to make sure that we continue to hold ourselves accountable, and that's precisely what we have done and we will do.
Is this on? Thank you. I don't know whether this is for the state's attorney or the FBI, but there were 22 cases you mentioned that were referred to the feds. Are these identified as ringleaders, or who are these people, and why are their cases being handled federally?
Without going into the specifics of the cases, these are people who have been identified by federal authorities as possibly being subject to greater penalty under federal statute because of their participation in this. Obviously, there are ongoing investigations, so I can't speak too much into that, but these are 22 who've been identified by the U.S. Attorney's Office for federal prosecution.
But I mean, it would seem that these have to be people who did something more than just broke into a store. Can you elaborate at all on that?
Craig, I can't go into full detail about it. It is, again, these came as part of the incidents that happened at the end of May and early June related to the looting. It is not a surprise to many that some of this is coordinated efforts, the misperception that this is just a bunch of rogue people going. There are a considerable amount of people who are out there as individuals, but the coordination that has occurred, both what we saw this past weekend and what we saw previously, would suggest that there are those who are orchestrating this. We have been working collaboratively, again, since this began back in May with both our federal and local partners, and allowing for that collaboration for those cases to be adopted to the federal level.
Mayor David Greising from the BGA. What are the measurable goals for the program that you've announced today? And by Labor Day, how will things be different in this city?
Well, look, we've got to continue to be diligent every single day. And I don't want to put any artificial deadline on it, but fundamentally, what we have to do is make sure that our residents feel safe, because there's a reality of safe. That is our primary goal. We've heard loud and clear from people. They're nervous, they're scared, they're worried. They're thinking about whether or not their life can continue as they expect it to in this great city of Chicago. So we've got to restore confidence by making sure that the measures that we take are proactive, that we are aggressive, and that when someone dares challenge our resolve, that we hold them responsible. We are all united at every level in making sure that we continue to move forward, we lean into our partnerships, and we are collaborative in the work that we are doing, because we owe that. We owe that to our residents.
Mayor, can you just following up on that? I mean, this is a lot to ask for police officers. Days off canceled, 12-hour days. I mean, this will take a physical toll on them.
Yes.
To say this is going to go on with no artificial deadline.
No. Don't get me wrong. And let me be clear about what I said. No one takes lightly having officers work 12-hour days, canceling days off. That's a heavy toll on them personally. It's a heavy toll on their families, and we understand that. But I also believe, based upon what I know of the grit and resolve of the Chicago police officers, the young men and women who have stood up and said, call on me to protect my city, that they understand the sacrifice that needs to be made in this moment. That's why you also hear me talk all the time about the wellness and making sure that our officers are taken care of and that they take care of themselves and that we provide more supports to them. This is a challenging time for all of us, but it's especially challenging to the men and women who are out there on the front lines. And I would add to that the state's police officers who are working with us hand in hand. I would also add to that the Cook County Sheriff's Police that are working with us hand in hand, the FBI and other federal agents. This is a tough time, but it's a mission that they signed up for. It's a mission that they are well suited to accomplish. So what I'm saying is, I don't want to put an artificial deadline on when we will see measurable progress. I want measurable progress yesterday. I want it today. I want it tomorrow and every single day until we restore the confidence of our residents, that we understand and have heard their cries for peace and safety, and that we do our jobs, that we step up, and that we own this moment. That's what I want. That's the resolve that I have. That is a message that I've given to the superintendent and the leadership team in the police department. When I've reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, to SAC Bowie and our other federal partners, that is the resolve and the sense of urgency that I have expressed to them. The same sense of resolve that I have expressed to the Cook County State's Attorney and the Sheriff. We all feel that. We all feel the weight of this moment, and we are all determined to make sure that we make a difference for the residents in this great city. Thank you all.